Good afternoon, everyone. This is your Marketplace coming up this afternoon ahead of the mid-year budget presentation this Thursday. We throw the spotlight on the performance of Ghana's economy and possible ways to recovery amid the pandemic. Ghana Union of Traders Association demand immediate closure of illegal foreign retail shops. And later in the bulletin, we will tell you how one man is converting crushed eggs and waste into liquid fertilizer. Please stay for the details. Welcome once again to the Marketplace. My name is Sandra Esinam, and we begin with budget-related issues because the Finance Minister is set to present a mid-year review and supplementary budget to Parliament this Thursday. In a series of engagement, we throw the spotlight on the economy and what mitigating measures must be taken to ensure a quick recovery. We have two of Ghana's astute economists to help us appreciate the issues better. Welcome to the Marketplace, Professor John Gachi and Professor Godfrey Boffin.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Looks like...
Thank you for having me here.
Great. Looks like this is a debate between the University of Ghana and University of Cape Coast. Am I right?
Yes.
No, Prof. Gachi, you want to say something about that?
No, I don't think so. It's just an opportunity to highlight on the issue that we should expect.
Right. So let's get into action. What is your initial assessment of the economy? Let me start with you, Prof. Gachi.
Well, I think it's very clear that we have witnessed an economy that has been truncated by COVID-19. That has effect on revenue mobilization. It has dwindled significantly. If you take the data from 2018 to 2020 expectation, you will realize that revenue has gone down to about 7%, and within the same framework, from 2018 to 2020, thereabout, the expectation of revenue expenditure has gone up by the same margin of about 7%. So if you look at revenue going down, expenditure is expanding as a result of containment of COVID-19 issues. So that is very clear. Then it's also very clear that we have been hard hit by revenue shortfall from petroleum, and the implication is that a lot of pipeline of projects engaged by ABFA should be affected in 2020. Of course, these are the main areas that I think we can focus on for now, even though we can go specifically to sectors where productivity has gone down, joblessness has actually gotten into the picture as a result of the COVID-19. So that is the brief issue about the introduction.
Okay, Prof. Boffin, let me come to you. Same question, but do you agree with what Prof. Gachi said?
I think largely I agree. It is not anybody's doing, and we are not unique in this particular situation, because if you look at it from the global perspective, you appreciate that when you look at even income per head in terms of income losses, 170 countries are projected to see a decline. I mean, the world has witnessed a recession that we haven't seen in recent times. And I think to add to what Prof. Gachi said, if you look at the disruption to global supply chain, if you look at the impact in terms of the elevated health expenditures that have to be done, and then again, you look at the fiscal stimulus, economic stimulus arrangement that have been put in place across the entire world, that's going to elevate the fiscal deficit. And for us in Ghana, we are looking at the deficit expanding to about 9.5% or approximately 10% by the end of this year. And that is very, very huge. But I think that because of COVID-19, also when you look at it, you see that even with the Millennium Development Goals and the much talked about poverty reduction gains that we have made, they have all been reversed, largely because of COVID-19. So the impact is very, very pervasive, and I think it's still unfolding. If you look at since the beginning of this year, the IMF, the World Bank, the multilateral institutions have had to revise their forecast more than 3 times. That tells you how fluid the situation is. So, and we are not out of the woods yet. And the reality on the ground is that the economic hangover from COVID-19 may probably last beyond a generation.
Wow, interesting. Good you spoke about the revenue and then the expenditure shortfall. Prof. Gachi, let me come to you. Our total revenue projection for this year was over 67 billion Ghana. So that's against an expenditure of almost 86 billion cedis. Clearly, we are in a deficit of about 18 billion. With COVID setting in, what Prof. Bokpin said, how bad is this going to get for us?
Well, I think the picture is very clear. That is going to worsen because revenue is based on productivity. Revenue is based on active supply chain engagement, and that has been disrupted hugely. And we don't know when these activities will resume to begin to take revenue from those activities. Revenue from international trade engagement has actually truncated, and it affects the spill-down effect in productive activity within the internal economy. So until we see resumption of vibrant economic activity along all the chain, revenue expectation will continue to dampen.
And Prof, that brings us to the question, vibrant resumption of economic activities in the country. We've spoken about that, heavily dependent on importation, and then also a lot of things that we need to do internally to get the economy back on track. My question to you is, what should be the focus of the economic management team, and which sector do you think that will bring some sort of redemption going forward?
I think the framework that all countries are using is innovative management. So we need to be looking at an innovative way of engaging in our expenditure. It's not all the expenditure that are linked to COVID-19. Some of the expenditures will have to be realigned. That is about the innovation I'm talking about. There should be innovation in terms of revenue generation, and there should be priority in terms of financing innovative ideas and innovative engagement in our productive activities. We have seen a lot of that. In fact, if there is any lesson that we learned during this short period of COVID-19, is that we have the ability to be creative, we have the ability to innovate. In fact, we have the ability to add on. So that is what our focus should be right now as we continue to deal with this COVID-19, especially as it relates to economic management of our country.
Prof. Bokpin, let me bring you, same question, looking at, the sectors that we have. Agri sector, some have said, will be the way forward. The manufacturing sector will be the way forward. With the situation at hand now, Prof. Bokpin, what do you think will bring about that redemption?
I think that I agree largely with my colleague. I think we have to be innovative. I think what is becoming clear is that no country is going to have more resources now. So the question is, how do you achieve more with less? How do you ensure greater efficiency and greater value for money? So, and you have all the sectors that have been impacted, and they are all competing for limited resources, particularly because we have not been able to contain the pandemic or come out with a vaccine. Health spending still has to be catered for in terms of saving lives. And then again, we have to balance that with saving livelihood also, and also cushion the citizens in terms of the adverse distributional effect from COVID-19, job losses. I heard the finance minister talking about some unemployment benefit and all of that. But I think if you look at it, the question is, where do we start from?
Right.
And what will be the mainstay of our economy? So if we say, let agriculture lead, that is different from saying agriculture becoming the mainstay of our economy. So you are looking at the low-hanging fruits in terms of the sectors that can deliver immediate results to pushing.
And which are the low-hanging fruits for you?
And that is where perhaps agriculture is key. If you look at the effect of COVID-19 in terms of price development, it's totally within our control. Given the disruption to the global supply chain and the fact that we are not getting that imported item to supplement local production, we've seen the effect in terms of price development. So I'm expecting that we will strike a good balance between meeting the expenditure drive of health and balance that with agriculture and link that to agribusiness. And then you can also link that to manufacturing. Why am I saying so? If you look at Ghana, we are surrounded by neighbors who have food challenges and food deficit. Togo, Burkina Faso, as we speak right now, 45 million Nigerians are heading into food and nutrition crisis. That is huge investment for us. We have also signed up onto the African Continental Free Trade. And if you look at the food import or the food deficit in Africa, it's over $35 billion. That's a huge market for us. So, and given that we have that vast expanse of land along the Volta link and all of that, we could actually scale up in terms of our investment in agriculture and agribusiness to ensure that we are able to take advantage of that food deficit. And this would also be helpful. That is not to suggest that agriculture will become the mainstay of our economy. But if you look at agriculture right now, that is where majority of Ghanaians derive their livelihood from. So if you're able to invest appropriately in that sector and scale up that sector's growth, then chances are that you're also improving the livelihood of majority of Ghanaians who derive their livelihood from there. Then we can't also do without ICT now. But ICT should not be looked at as a standalone sector, because ICT should be diffused across all the sectors now. We are talking about ICT in education, ICT in manufacturing, ICT in agriculture, ICT in agribusiness, ICT here, ICT there, and all of that. So we need to be able to scale up the digital literacy of Ghanaians, data analytics, and then also more importantly, link that to our educational curriculum. So instead of, as a country, deciding to mainstream comprehensive sexuality, what we should mainstream in this country should be digital literacy.
Right. Hold it there for me, from Bopin. I see you. Hold it right there for me.
Everybody must be conversant with the ICT, and so that we can bridge the digital gap.
All right, sure. I see you nodding, Prof. Gachi, to what Prof was saying when he spoke about the digital kind of inclusion, bringing everybody on board, specifically with the way the world is going, with the impact of COVID and the use of digital tools. What do you think can be done, and what will you want to see in that budget that will bring some sort of hope to the digital space moving forward?
Well, I think before I go to that point, I do not want to take the media review as a policy framework that is going to solve our problems. The idea surrounding the media review is that we had a budget in November last year, and that budget had been reviewed in March. And we have engaged the managers of the economy to spend our money to actually implement those policies. They are coming to report to us as to the performance of those items that they have outlined to us. So I do not want to present it as if it's now that we are coming to
But some have called for a recalibration of the whole expenditure and the economy. Do you agree to that?
That has been done. So we have mandated them to go and spend. This is the time that they are coming to account to the country. The $100 million from World Bank, the COVID-19 Alleviation Fund, the COVID-19 Trust Fund, and other stimulus package and the rest. This is a time that the government is coming to account to us. But I think what we are trying to say is that, for example, if you look at the educational sector, we were not prepared for online teaching. And for that matter, many institutions from the lower level to the high level in the past did not have the time or the money to invest in online infrastructure. It's an area that we need to engage seriously. If you look at data consumption, it's an area that we need to do something about data consumption that will allow for greater use of ICT to infiltrate into all the sectors of the economy. I think that is what the government should be doing.
All right,
and this should not just be a policy statement, but it should be something that should be very practical, because we are going to use ICT a lot in a lot of things that we do going forward.
Okay, great, gentlemen.
The cost of data is something that we need to look at so that we can allow many more people to engage in the use of ICT to do whatever they want to do, whether in health delivery, whether in pharmaceutical, etc. That is very important.
Well said, gentlemen. We're running out of time, but quickly, 30 seconds each, I want to ask you, the CD has been fairly stable despite the pandemic. I'm sure you agree to that. But so, in all these, how positively will this impact on the lives of the ordinary Ghanaian? We are going into the mid-year. What will bring some hope to people? The butter and bread is important, right?
Yes, it's very, very important. I think we have to be moderate with our expectations. It's media review. It's not going to be like helicopter dropping of CDs all over the country. No. So, and the impact are very real. So, to some extent, I'm expecting that the minister will come out with some kind of stimulus arrangement to cushion ordinary Ghanaians. That expectation is very high, and they have to work towards meeting that in terms of mitigating the adverse distributional effect to some extent. But we can't go that far because we don't have that fiscal space to be able to do the big ticket fiscal stimulus and support like other advanced countries are doing. We just have to cut our coat according to the size of our cloth.
But Gwakin, what's the size of our cloth and how are we cutting it?
It's very, very small. And there's very little national about the national cake. Let's make it a bit more national.
All right, Prof. Gachi, let me give you a final word, 30 seconds, please, on the city's performance and then reflection in the pockets of Ghanaians.
The global capital market is not friendly to us. The donor environment is not friendly to us. So we would need to actually reshape things within the confine of our finances. Already we have actually negatively affected the financial arrangement because of COVID-19. We shouldn't have that appetite to go even more. We should be able to contain ourselves within the framework that we have right now.
Grateful for your time, gentlemen. Professor Godfred Gwakin and Professor John Gachi, economists, both for your time this afternoon. We move to other stories, and a 59-year-old man in Damango in the Savannah region is producing liquid fertilizer from eggs. Dr. Clement Apengo says the process is cost-effective and the product gives good results on the farm. He is therefore encouraging poultry farmers to take a cue from him and convert their spoiled or unsold eggs into fertilizer for capital gains. A report by Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin.
The smell, right? Crushed eggs are kept for 21 days to allow for fermentation before being applied on his farm. Dr. Fada Ampenyo is Executive Director for Center for Conflict Transformation and Peace Studies. He also looks into natural resource conflict for environmental protection and provision of solutions.
So that means it's not doing well. I better say, okay, you
It is early hours of the day and Dr. Fada Ampenyo checks up on his liquid fertilizer made of crushed eggs. He mixes the eggs with household waste, including vegetables, as well as neem and moringa leaves.
2 weeks ago, we had a problem with our incubator. I have about 2,000 eggs, guinea fowl eggs in the incubator, hatching. And we had a problem, and I had over 400 eggs that were spoiled, you know. And after I got over the trauma of losing all these eggs, I'm like, wait a minute, we can turn this into liquid fertilizer, you know. So you get a bucket, put it in there, crush them, put neem leaves, crush them, added moringa leaves, you know. And I just keep dumping waste there and covering it. And now in 21 days, I'm going to drain the water. Now, when you drain the water, that's liquid fertilizer. But then the solid waste that is still there, you just go into the garden, you dig a hole, and then you pour it into your garden. And leave it there for another 21 days. And you can either dig it out as organic fertilizer and apply in the garden, or plant around in that area. And so far, the results have been amazing. So I'm still trying it. And if I get the hang of it and I say, okay, this is working, I've tried this several times and it has worked, you know, I've demonstrated it in my garden, then I can begin to show to people and say, hey, listen, do this and see how it works.
Eggs contain high levels of calcium, which is an important nutrient for plants, especially vegetables and fruits. The liquid fertilizer leaches the calcium into the soil for root uptake during composting. So with this method, there is no need to be worried about low demand and price for eggs. This is because there is another chance of turning it into liquid fertilizer for sale or for domestic use. So eat your eggs, save the spoiled ones, and fix your soil for bigger, better crops. A report by Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin.
Away from that, online financial services firm Letshego is assuring customers of safety as demand for goods online increases. According to the chief executive of the company, Arnold Parker, it has automated its operations and is ready to deal with mobile money fraud. He spoke to Joy Business after the company donated some alcohol-based hand sanitizer and personal protective equipment to the #1 medical reception station of the 1st Infantry Battalion at Michel Camp. There's more in the following report.
Letshego has been operating an automated system which exposes the company to cyber attackers, a situation the Bank of Ghana has been working at improving. Chief Executive of Letshego, Arnold Parker, told Joy Business that all the necessary steps have been taken to safeguard its systems.
These things can always be traced. So when you even read the news about all these cyber issues, you realize that people are almost immediately arrested a few days afterwards. So I just urge people really to there's a lot of opportunity now. Let's focus more on creating more business for ourselves and now jumping onto this cyber fraud. We are hoping that people understand that we are going to make all the efforts required to keep their money safe. And that's really what our business is in for. So we will keep everyone's money safe.
Aside the donation to the Infantry Battalion, the chief executive also told Joy Business the company will continue to support its clients and Ghana at large to fight the coronavirus pandemic. Commanding officer of the station, Lieutenant Colonel Simeon Nyanti, was thankful to Letshego and expressed confidence that the gesture will go a long way to help in contributing to the fight against the global pandemic.
We are doing our best to be able to stand so that we give the necessary medical care for anybody who finds himself, unfortunately, with this situation. And what you have given us will go a very long way to ensure that we perform our task, our job, as required of us, to ensure that we keep everybody in the barracks and all our friends, civilians who come here, safe.
The donation is in fulfillment of the corporate social responsibility of Letshego.
Now, before we go, the local retail feud lingers. Unfortunately, it looks like there is no end in sight because the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, is again demanding the closure of shops belonging to illegal foreign traders at Circle in Accra. GUTA is alleging that about 90% of foreigners in the retail market did not meet the requirement to operate in Ghana. So we'll have a conversation on that in our subsequent bulletins. Will come your way on Business Live at 5 p.m. But that's how we end the marketplace this afternoon. I am Sandra Esinamape. Thanks so much for watching. But log on to myjawline.com/business for more business news updates.